What do you get when you combine the cyberpunk genre with Reservoir Dogs, Danganronpa, and throw it into the Japanese city of Osaka? You get Akudama Drive. Now, if a single aspect of what I mentioned is interesting to you, you owe it to yourself to check out this show. To summarize, Akudama Drive is a 2020 cyberpunk anime that even won Anime of the Year from Anime Trending. It focuses on an ordinary person who gets swept into a group of Japan's most dangerous criminals who are all gathered by a mysterious entity, who then coerces them into a job using explosive collars.
So that's it? What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Now, if you're wondering, why should I watch this? Well, let me give you my pitch. Akudama Drive is a thoroughly enjoyable anime throughout its entire runtime, with great animation, an interesting story, purposeful writing, a banger soundtrack, awesome character designs, and stellar voice acting, all within just 12 episodes. What's also great is how over the top the show is, such as measuring the power level of criminals by their jail sentence. So instead of Goku vs. Cell, you get locked in a cell for 40 to life.
Now take me to jail.
Or how about the fact that one of the main criminals, the courier, has the Akira bike with built-in ODM gear and a fucking railgun? I mean, how metal is that? Oh, and did I mention there's special police called executioners who wield lightsabers? And one of those cops is Kakashi? Yeah, how could you not be at least curious about this show? But despite all that, Akudama Drive is able to balance this with an engaging story that tackles serious themes and topics, such as the nature of justice and crime, the criminal justice system, the extent of government power, corruption, the role of technology in justice and crime, and more that are not only thought-provoking but deep in its cyberpunk setting. It's a show that has a perfect balance between action and entertainment with the good old noggin jogging. It doesn't put you to sleep with a self-indulgent amount of abstract philosophizing, nor does it give you brain rot from 1,000 hours of explosions injected right into your freaking eye sockets, or dangling waifu bait in front of you endlessly like a dog in some keychains. Honestly, this is one of the most balanced shows I've ever seen, especially for a 12-episode anime. It's got a bit of everything for all kinds of viewers to like. You like action movies? Oh boy, is there a shit ton of action in this show. You like political thrillers? There's a bunch of political intrigue in here. You like heist movies? It's got a train heist episode.
You like Huey Lewis in the news?
You like horror movies? It's got a slasher episode.
Here's Johnny.
You like romance? It's got the best bromance between Brawler and Hoodlum. Okay, maybe the last one doesn't count, but you get the damn point. Now, if you probably noticed, I mentioned movies a lot there, and that's because the reason I think Akudama Drive has something for everyone is because it was influenced by a wide array of films. For example, Reservoir Dogs influenced the plot and cast of Akudama Drive significantly. Both focus on a group of rebellious criminals known only by their code names who work together to complete a job. The fight choreography was influenced by Ip Man as well as Skyfall. The heist episode was influenced by Mission Impossible and Ocean's 11. And the finale was influenced by Leon the Professional. Another influence that makes this show great is Danganronpa, as its creator, Kazutaka Kodaka, was also the original creator of Akudama Drive, conceptualizing the show and was consulted throughout its production. If you don't know, Danganronpa is a visual novel game where students, each with their own specialty or ultimate, can only escape a school by successfully murdering a fellow classmate and covering up the crime. It's got an abundance of visual flair and a distinct stylistic edge to it. Many of the strengths of Danganronpa were transferred to Akudama Drive, such as the excellent and memorable character designs. Kodaka believes that anime is more enjoyable when you instantly know what kind of person has just appeared, and you can clearly see it in the show. This greatly helps the show in forming a connection between the characters and the audience, as it's only 12 episodes and can't afford to waste time. Just one look at the cast and you get an outline of their character. The tech-savvy hacker, the stoic no-nonsense professional, the smashing bricks but dumb as bricks muscle, the selfish femme fatale, the psychopath, the joker, and so on. Yet what I love about this show is that it gives each character their own motivations and layers that give them depth outside of their archetype. I won't spoil anything everything about the characters, but Yoshifumi Sasahara, the show's assistant director, had this to say about them. Kodaka-san's characters tend to be memorable and distinctive, but underneath that, there's always an incredible amount of care for their inner feelings and so on. So yeah, when you're influenced by bangers such as Reservoir Dogs, Mission Impossible, Danganronpa, and more, it's hard not to have something that's fucking cool. But that's not to say that Akudama Drive doesn't make all those influences into its own thing. It certainly does. Part of that is the unique setting of Osaka, which Kodaka purposely uses to differentiate it from other cyberpunk media. He said that, instead of the big city and bright lights of Tokyo, he used Osaka as it felt old, working class, and like neon lights and advertisements inspired by Japan's Showa era.
そういうところで、ある意味昭和サイバーパンクみたいなのにしようみたいな話をしまして、そこから、今のちょっと古臭いサイバーパンクっていうところに落ち着きましたね。はい。
This old-fashioned cyberpunk and anachronistic setting is something you see in many other great cyberpunk works, such as Blade Runner. The genius behind the choice of using Osaka in a cyberpunk setting is also reflected in the work of Yoshio Tanioka, Akudama Drive's art director. He said that when making Akudama Drive look distinct, he didn't even think of it as something that spreads the word of cyberpunk. Yet he also said that the hologram displays of billboard ads popular during Japan's Showa era in the 50s and 60s fit the cyberpunk aesthetic very well. All of this ultimately leads to a cyberpunk setting and city that feels very lived in, believable, and really adds to the show overall. Finally, I want to talk about just how much passion was put into this show. Akudama Drive to me is almost like an underdog anime. It's like an entirely original anime in a market where manga and light novel adaptations are dominant. The entire staff behind Akudama Drive put so much time, effort, and love into this show that it's criminal, no pun intended, that it's so overlooked. For example, in one of the best episodes, there's a fight scene between two characters where it's raining, and the rain is actually done through digital compositing, which really adds to the scene in a way that can really only be experienced by watching it. There's even amazing care and attention to detail in the use of color. Since the episode ends with the deaths of two characters, I won't spoil which, Sasahara felt that the episode should start with lots of color and gradually lose it to indicate not only loss of life, but the darker tone of the rest of the show. But in that final scene where the lights of the Ferris wheel disappear and the colors fade away to anticipate the end of a dream, the sight of an abandoned bridge represents a cold gravestone. Even the use of a bridge itself is an important detail, as Sasahara said that in terms of visual direction, they represent both meetings and partings. In the case of Akudama, I felt that it would be a fitting place to represent the intersection of two people with different ways of living, a place to signal the end. Again, almost everything is purposeful in Akudama Drive, and that level of care, attention to detail, and just balls to the wall fun is in every episode of this show.
Oh, that's that.
So Akudama Drive is a short cyberpunk anime about a series of criminals working together, completing jobs in a vibrant, memorable city, with an MC becoming roped into the criminal underworld after an ordinary life. Now, if you compare this to its contemporaries, the clear elephant in the room is Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Edgerunners took anime fans by storm, and most people love it for many of the things I've mentioned in this video. The band of lovable criminals, each with their own unique character designs and specialty, a city that is a character in itself, great animation, music, and things that Akudama Drive also has in spades. So if you loved Edgerunners, I highly recommend you check out Akudama Drive, as it has enough similarities to be up your alley, while being unique enough to stand out and make an impression within the cyberpunk genre. In fact, Kodaka said himself that there was a lot of material within the cyberpunk genre already, and that was all the more reason to make Akudama Drive unique. One of the pieces of cyberpunk media that Kodaka took note of while making the show was none other than Cyberpunk 2077.
まあ実際もうすぐゲームでね、サイバーパンク2077みたいなゲームが出ますけど、とんでもないクオリティのゲームが出ますけど、まあああいうのと被ってしまうなっていうのがあったんで、まあもう最初からオリジナリティを入れていこうということで、そこでまあ出たのが、じゃあ大阪を舞台にしよう。
If If that wasn't enough to convince you, Tanioka, the art director, also said this about 2077 and Akudama Drive. I felt that it was interesting how they focus on people living in a ruined future. There may be local differences in the cultures, but ultimately they share similar elements. It reaffirmed to me how Akudama Drive and Cyberpunk 2077 are stories about people. If you love Night City and Edgerunners, you'll love Osaka and Akudama Drive. Honestly, I really can't stress enough how, if you love Cyberpunk, film, Danganronpa, or Edgerunners, you're doing yourself a massive disservice by not checking out this show. And if you do like the show, talk about it. Kodaka said that he'd love to see more support for the show. In that sense, I'd like people to talk about it by any means possible. For example, if people say on social media that it's interesting, or well, it may be a little strange for the official side to say this, but if you draw a picture of a derivative work and have it posted on Twitter or whatever you can to get the word out, then the people who are interested will want to see it again. It works the same way for cosplays, and I'd like it to become a hot topic of discussion. I'm hoping to get as much support for Akudama Drive as possible to be a part of the groundwork for more originals to be created. From here on, please continue to support Akudama Drive. Please continue to support us. Now, not a lot of people are talking about this show, but if you want to see more original works like Edgerunners or Akudama Drive, whether it's for the cyberpunk genre or anime, go check it out. Go watch the most underrated cyberpunk anime. Go watch Akudama Drive. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you liked the video, you know, the typical things for the algorithm. And you guys have a good one.